You know, for somebody like me who has very critical opinions on some rides, you would think by now I would have made a ranking video about my home park's roller coasters. Fast forward to today, that's finally gonna happen. I'm making a ranking video about my home park's roller coasters. And as always, I have to put the warning in the video, my opinions may not agree with yours, so keep that in mind as I'm ranking these roller coasters that we may disagree a little bit. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Hey there friends, long time no see, Derailed Coasters back with another video. I know I haven't been the most consistent lately, but I'm going to try to change that in the future. If you're new around here and you like the content that you've seen on my channel, please consider subscribing. It would help a lot with giving me the motivation to continue to be consistent on this channel. So without further ado, let's get into the rankings of this video. Coming in at number 14, this may be the hottest take of this video, is Superman Ultimate Flight. Superman Ultimate Flight is a B&M flying coaster. Opening in April of 2003, this B&M flying coaster is actually a clone of the original model that opened up at Six Flags Over Georgia the year prior. Why does this come in at number 14 for me? Well, there are various reasons, but one of them in particular is that I'm not a big fan of B&M flying coasters, with a special exception to Manta at SeaWorld Orlando, and I haven't ridden Tatsu yet at Six Flags Magic Mountain. However, the Superman clones in particular do absolutely nothing for me, and the one at Six Flags Great Adventure has a multitude of reasons as to why it's so bad. To start with, its original sister model at Six Flags Over Georgia is way better due to the fact that it interacts with the terrain. Six Flags Great Adventures interacts with, you guessed it, a parking lot. And unfortunately for that, that really kills the ride for me because the layout isn't really interesting enough to make it stand out on its own, to make it worth the weight that it can garnish when it's a busy day at the park. The general public really eats this ride up, and to make matters worse, the operations on it are atrocious. The operations contribute to the fact that I hate laying on my stomach on the brake run while they're stacking trains, which really decreases the value of the ride for me. And that is primarily the reason why I don't like the flying coasters, because when they're not in motion and you're on your stomach like that, it's extremely uncomfortable, especially when you're stacked on the brake run. So yeah, call me crazy. I have Superman ranked under what is coming in at number 13, Little Devil Coaster. There isn't really much to say about this Zamperla gravity coaster. It opened in 2021 as Little Devil, but it formerly operated at the park as Roadrunner Railway before Jersey Devil Coaster opened. It got rethemed to Little Devil when it reopened in 2021 as a potential coaster that could be used as a stepping stone for the younger audiences to give Jersey Devil Coaster a try. It's a family coaster and it's pretty short and small, so there's not a whole lot to say about it. Coming in at number 12 is Dark Knight. This is a Mock Rides Wild Mouse coaster that opened in 2008. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm not a fan of Wild Mouse coasters. The only ones that I can really appreciate are the spinning ones, but on general Wild Mouse coasters, for as good as the lateral forces can be on those, they're generally just uncomfortable to me. I hate how small the trains are. Other than that though, they're just a generic ride layout. They don't really do anything special or wow me in any sort of way, so that's why it's placed so low on this list. Coming in at number 11, we have Harley Quinn Crazy Train. Opening at the park in 1999 and originally known as Blackbeard's Lost Treasure Train, Harley Quinn's Crazy Train is a zero Tivoli model with absurdly long trains and a double ride cycle. Take note, Six Flags New England. This ride typically doesn't really have anything special in terms of forces, and the layout is just a bunch of hills and turns. But to me, it's a little bit more comfortable than the Dark Knight coaster, and it's a better family coaster than Little Devil Coaster, so here we are. It's placed at number 11. Coming in at number 10 is Skull Mountain. Opening in the park in 1996, this is an Intamin family coaster. Skull Mountain is what I like to call Six Flags Great Adventure's hidden gem. If you've been on this ride and you've been in the back seat, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. This ride has an absolutely bonkers first drop in the back row. You get yanked out of your seat with an insanely surprising moment of ejector airtime. Really, other than that though, there's nothing too special about this ride. It's an indoor coaster with a lot of twists and turns, and it doesn't really offer a lot in terms of forces, although it gets brownie points for being inside a really cool mountainous skull structure. Haha, anyways. Coming in at number 9 is Joker, a 4D free spin spin coaster built by SNS Worldwide. This opened in 2016 and is your typical free spin clone model that you can find at several Six Flags parks. This ride does have its good and bad days, but on its good days you can get multiple flips. However, because of that, it's a very inconsistent ride and it's not something that I can really rank higher because of that. Also, it's a short layout, and to top it off, it doesn't really offer that much in terms of forces, so really it's just a ride to fill in the gaps in the lineup. Coming in at number 8 is Runaway Mine Train. This coaster is the only remaining coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure that actually opened with the park in 1974. Built by Aerodynamics, this is actually my favorite Aero Mine Train coaster, and I'm sure there's quite a few of you that have gotten to this point in the video that are actually questioning my placement in the rankings of this roller coaster right now. So, allow me to explain myself on my reasonings here. This is by far one of the smoothest Aero Mine Train coasters, with the exception of one really janky transition later in the ride. The operators don't really staple you into your seat either, so the ride is actually pretty comfortable in comparison to some other ones. But the true crown jewel moment of this roller coaster is at the end of the ride with that Yeeter McSkeeter airtime hill that absolutely catches you off guard, especially if you're in the front of the train. I am telling you right now that Magnum XL 200's finale was probably inspired by this one lone airtime hill. I am telling you, if you get low verification on your restraint and you sit up towards the front of the train, this airtime hill will have you standing. If you don't believe me, come to Six Flags Great Adventure and see for yourself. That's why this ride is ranked as high as it is. Now we're at the point of the video where my rankings are going to become quite controversial to some of you. I am very confident that these next 7 placements, except for number 1, are really going to ruffle some of the feathers of some enthusiasts. And for those of you who are sweating bullets because you haven't seen Green Lantern in this video yet, yeah, keep sweating. Coming in at number 7 on this ranking is Medusa. Medusa is a floorless coaster built by B&M, opening in 1999 as the world's first floorless coaster. Typically, your average enthusiast who visits Six Flags Great Adventure would have this ranked higher, but for me, unfortunately, this ride isn't very consistent. It has some good years and it has some bad years, and especially this year it is not running very good. They are really trimming the ride at the mid-course brake run, which makes the second half of the ride feel pretty boring. Although the layout is pretty good in my opinion. This is one of my favorite floorless coasters, and it's ranked amongst my top 3. It's only ranked under Dominator at King's Dominion and Kraken at SeaWorld Orlando. But yeah, that mid-course brake run really kills the ride for me. The interlocking corkscrews feel like you're just dragging along, and in some instances you feel like you may even valley in the second half after the mid-course. But the most redeeming factor for this ride is its amazing first half, with a great first drop, a very tall vertical loop, a dive loop, a 0G roll, and a very forceful cobra roll. Overall, the forces on this ride are pretty good, especially in the first half, so I think it lands in the number 7 spot. Coming in at number 6 is Jersey Devil Coaster. Opening in 2021 and built by Rocky Mountain Construction, also known as RMC, this is a single rail Raptor model. I used to rank this a lot higher, however this year it has really fallen off for me. I think my biggest complaint with this is the trains. The more time has passed on, the less I like the trains. These trains aren't really that comfortable, to be honest with you. The way your legs are positioned on the train aren't exactly the most comfortable. And aside from that, the ride isn't really aging that well either. There's a couple of really redundant potholes in some spots of the ride, but that's just me being nitpicky. It still has landed in the number 6 spot on my rankings, and it does have some redeeming qualities about it. If you're lucky enough to get the back row, which your row is assigned based on the order that you are in line for the ride, then Jersey Devil Coaster offers a phenomenal first drop, and the rest of the ride offers abundant amounts of airtime. And comparing and contrasting it to when it first opened, the pacing has really improved and it has stayed consistent over the last year or two. However, my reasoning for not ranking it higher is because there are a couple rides in the park that I feel do what Jersey Devil Coaster does, but better. So now we're coming into my top 5 roller coasters at Six Flags Great Adventure. At this point in the video, your sweat rag is probably soaking wet. You're probably still wondering where Green Lantern is on this list. But don't worry, we're getting closer to that. Coming in at number 5 is Batman the Ride. Opening in 1993 at the park, this is a B&M inverted coaster. To me, in the last couple of years, this ride has really redeemed itself for me. I used to not be a huge fan of this ride. However, Six Flags in the last couple of years have really given this ride the TLC that it deserves. With a brand new paint job, an uptick in pacing, and a refurbished lift hill, this ride now runs far better than it ever has. The compactness of this layout allows the ride to offer one of the most intense experiences that you can get at Six Flags Great Adventure. The positive G-forces on this ride are insane, with multiple gray out moments. And and while this ride may be a clone as well, the layout is awesome. I am very certainly a fan of the Batclone's layout, but yeah, I genuinely never have a bad ride on this anymore, and every time I return to the brake run, I always ask myself, WTF just happened to me? Especially those night rides, when it's even faster than normal, and it just feels like the train is gonna fly off the track. And not to mention, now that they've done all of this overhaul work to it, it runs a lot smoother in my opinion as well, with less of a rattle. But anyways, yeah, Batman the Ride is the real deal now, and I think number 5 in the park is the perfect position for it. Coming in at the number 4 spot, we have Green Lantern. Yes, that is right. This is a legitimate ranking. I believe that Green Lantern is the 4th best roller coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. I know plenty of you are shaking your heads at me right now and wondering why I would even put it this high up in the rankings. Well, fortunately, I released a video last year that explains in full detail on why I enjoy stand-up roller coasters. In fact, you could go back into the video history on my channel and look up the video about why I think Vortex at Carowinds is a good roller coaster. And that video will explain all of my counter arguments and arguments for why stand-up coasters are actually good rides. Now granted, I know stand-up roller coasters aren't for everybody. In fact, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't enjoy having the positive G-forces running through their legs. However, I really enjoy that part of the ride, and I think it offers one of the most intense experiences at Six Flags Great Adventure, even more intense than Batman the Ride, which is why I rank it above that. And also, I've discovered a method that I particularly use for when I ride stand-up coasters, which gives me a little bit of an edge when ranking stand-up coasters in comparison to other people. You won't see your typical enthusiasts ranking stand-up coasters near the top of any of their ranking videos, but I'm here to tell you that I am just built different, okay? I love stand-up roller coasters. I think Vortex is a great ride, I think Green Lantern is a great ride, and I think Georgia Scorcher is even a really great ride, and I can't wait to ride the rest of them. Coming in at number 3, we have Nitro, which is a hypercoaster model manufactured by Bollinger and Mabillard, opening in April of 2001. Nitro is an airtime machine, offering multiple moments of floater to flagector airtime. And while it's certainly not the best B&M hypercoaster, it is certainly not the worst either. I think Nitro has one of the most fun layouts among any of the B&M hypercoasters, and I think Nitro offers one of the best night rides at Six Flags Great Adventure. You are flying through the woods at breakneck speeds, and you can't particularly see in front of you that well either. I feel like these last few years have been really great for Nitro in an operational standpoint. Its pacing has been great, and it's been giving plenty of airtime. And as we all know, Nitro is due for a potential repaint coming in the upcoming seasons, whether it be next year or 2025. While this coaster is now 22 years old, I believe the future is quite bright for Nitro. Coming in at the number 2 spot, we have King de Ka. Opening in May of 2005, King de Ka is an Intamin accelerator coaster. To this very day, King de Ka still remains as the tallest roller coaster in the world, and is also the second fastest roller coaster in the world, as well as the fastest roller coaster currently operating in the United States. The last couple of years have been amazing for King de Ka. I really think that King de Ka was carrying Great Adventure at the beginning of the season when Medusa, Mine Train, and El Toro were all still closed until Memorial Day weekend. The coaster may be a little short, however, the airtime at the top of the top hat and the bunny hill, especially when the ride is in boost mode, and if you're lucky enough to get to experience it in boost mode, my god, this ride is amazing. To increase your chances of riding King de Ka in boost mode, try to hit King de Ka up at the very start of the day when the park first opens, or directly after the ride breaks down. I will say the ride is not designed to run in boost mode all the time, and for those wondering what it is, it's basically when the ride actually runs at its full speed at 128 miles per hour. For those of you who didn't know, King de Ka doesn't necessarily achieve that speed every time that it launches. It could be 3 to 4 miles per hour short, but when it is in boost mode, it flies over the top hat. There's nothing else to really say about this ride other than that number 2 is a very fitting spot for the King of Coasters. And finally, coming in at the number 1 spot, it is none other than El Toro. El Toro is a prefabricated wooden coaster manufactured by Intamin. We all know that El Toro is the best roller coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure, and unfortunately, it is even better than Green Lantern. El Toro offers 4 of the most elite airtime moments that you can find in any place of the world. You have the first drop, the double camelbacks, and, of course, the rolling thunder hill. I mean, seriously, no roller coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure is as insane or out of control as El Toro is. While this coaster has been plagued with its issues in the last couple of years, I can promise you that El Toro is running fantastic this year, and it's been as reliable as it ever has been before the prior incidents. So if that is still driving you away from riding this amazing roller coaster, have no fear, because Great Adventure has taken great care of this ride this year. And while I will add, there are still a couple of rough spots on the ride, it is nowhere near as bad as it was the last few years. So that's gonna do it for this ranking video. I know there are a couple of rides in this list that are in places where a lot of you are probably scratching your heads, specifically Superman, Runaway Mine Train, and of course Green Lantern. But the most important thing to remember about this video is these are simply my opinions, and while some of you may or may not disagree, at the end of the day these are all based on our preferences, so if you do disagree, don't be too harsh in the comments section. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this list, so anything that you guys have to say about it, please let me know down below in the comments. I would love to see what you guys have to say. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, it really helps out in the YouTube algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. This is Derailed Coasters, signing off.